Sit down. We're almost to school. It's time now for the school report. Today we welcome Mike Beighley to the studio, the superintendent of the Whitehall School District, brought to you by Poppy Bus Service. The school report starts right now.
That's right, everybody. It is time for your school report here on this Friday morning. I'm joined by Mike Beighley. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm well today, and I think we're always excited to have kids in school, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, and what a beautiful day out it is.
It is. We've had some really nice days. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice to keep it warm, and we haven't had that big freeze yet, so.
Yeah, it's kind of nice for the evening football.
Yeah,
and
we've
stuff.
had some really good weather. Not a lot of rain yet, not a lot of, everything's green, so that's
Yeah.
always a bonus.
Yep, exactly. So we might as well jump right into it with your liftoff learning updates.
Yeah, I think we're getting better at explaining what this whole movement is, and Liftoff's Learning is kind of a branded product, a set of parameters, a plan, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a work in progress where we're blending emerging technologies and all of the things that kids need for the future with personalized learning, but really about structural change around the urgency that we need to move with to better hit kids where they are. Our results have been phenomenal. Our growth data shows you can actually see where we started personalizing with pilots last year.
Yep.
The growth takes off. The one-size-fits-all model that we've always done intentionally, right? That was our job. We've talked about that before, but I think this whole concept is picking up pace dramatically.
Yeah.
And that's a tough pill for some folks to swallow because a lot of us had good school experiences. Not all of us did.
Yep.
But at the same time, the sheer numbers of things that we're facing, the challenges throughout the world. We've had some pretty cool things happen lately. We're partnered with a couple, or actually 3 different big firms or big, I don't know what you call it, foundations, for lack of a better way to say it. LearnCard is one of them. It's a tracking app.
Okay.
So you start talking about competencies, right? Like we track grade reports or transcripts. The new version of that is actual skill sets. Liftoff's Learning got a mention at the United Nations General Assembly this year.
Oh, wow.
Just this week.
Yep.
We're partnered with a group, LearnCard, and they are the global tracking app. So again, that brings back this concept of globalization isn't a myth. If we think we can isolate ourselves in this country,
It's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. And the quicker that we all understand that and we can embrace that, then we can start figuring out how we're going to manage that. So Liftoffs, that's really it's about the structural change. It's not just AI tools.
Yep.
It's a different approach. It's a focus on truly on the kids accepting responsibility for their learning. Forever, this has been about what the parents can do or the teachers can do or the community can do, right? No, this is what the kids can do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and part of that emerging tech with these, what you're implementing, really, it's about catching up.
Really
to a
is.
lot of these foreign countries that are ahead of us. Like you were just in China, you said.
Yep, we were.
And, you've seen a lot of things there that we can't even fathom here.
No, the sheer numbers, right?
Yeah.
We're 347 million people in this country. The rest of the world is 7.9 billion. We're living in a global environment, right? People can hop, they can go wherever. We're certainly seeing global markets, right? We sell our stuff all over the world. We buy stuff in this country from all over the world. If we think that's going away, it's not, right? No matter what folks try to get us to believe in that whole scenario. But the technological advances being made in other countries, one big statistic that really got me, so we did a lot of research, a lot of visits to smart robotics companies. AI embedded robots, those types of things, humanoid robots. We talked a little bit about that last time. And certainly that market is increasing. But you look at the numbers, 600 smart robotics companies in the U.S.
Yep.
600.
Yeah.
700,000 companies in China alone.
Yeah.
How do you compete with those numbers? So it's not even about catching up. We have to figure out how to leapfrog.
Yeah.
What are we going to do that's going to continue to keep our standing where we want it if that's what we want? So I think that's part of this whole liftoffs piece is we have to really redefine what success looks like.
Yeah.
This isn't a test score. A big challenge that we face is our whole measure is testing, right? And people think when we push back that we're afraid of it. We're not. Okay, this whole scenario we saw, our test scores went up
Yep.
with personalized learning. Well, it makes sense if everybody's making growth. But what they don't realize is that that test is still geared at education from 50 years ago. What can you memorize? What can you manipulate? Not how can you think creatively? How can you solve real problems? Those types of things. So I think we have to really work hard collectively to redefine success. But
And find those skill sets in kids too, because that's one thing a test can't. It can a little bit,
Right.
but what are the skills that the kids have?
But that's that learn card concept. The big question for educators is, how are we going to track this? Well, this is now a global tracking platform that your next round of interviews, when you go in for a job interview, it's not a resume. Here's a USB drive with everything I can do and where I did it, how I learned it. I think that's a huge, powerful thing. But I think we also have to be aware of how the divisive stuff in this country is really hurting us.
Yeah.
Again, we don't want to be China. That's not our goal, right? But we have to understand what we're competing with because we are competing. So you have a different governmental structure. You have a communist structure where the government controls everything. You talk about a unifying message, right? They don't get a choice.
Yep.
At least we have a ton of choice in this country, but we ought to choose to start unifying instead of buying into everything that constantly divides us.
Yep.
And that was a big takeaway as well. I mean, the technology was enough to blow your mind. The concepts of the sheer numbers of people, if we're talking about a global market, was another thing to blow your mind. The challenge, though, is how do we come around something that unifies? And I do believe this liftoffs concept is something that can unify.
Okay.
It hits everything. It takes every kid, helps them get where they want to get. It redefines skill sets for the future. And I think, again, we have to get better at explaining that to people and what it is. So certainly that's part of this. But we have to create an awareness.
Yeah.
There's the structural change that happens inside a school, but our communities have to become more aware. And that's not a criticism, because how would they know?
Yep.
I had the opportunity, a tremendous opportunity, to go and have that trip provided for me. Who gets that opportunity?
Oh, no kidding.
So all we can do is share, though, because not everybody's going to be able to jump on a plane and go to China and do all those things. But we have a huge awareness void in this country.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's something that can unify, and I think we need to teach kids more to be American first before their political parties, and just remember that we're all in this together. And for the parents, don't be afraid of the technology, because I hear so many people, I'm not going to touch AI, I'm not even going to think about these things. And get yourself educated on it. That'll help get some of that fear away from it. And we do have to be cognizant of where this could lead, but you can't sit around, twiddle your thumbs and say, well, let's wait until everyone else has figured this out.
Well, one of the definitions of courage, right, is being scared and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not going to tell you I'm 100% comfortable with everything, even that I've seen in the last month. I think that whole concept, though, is we have a tendency to be very isolationist in our country, right?
Yeah.
A fourth big takeaway. So you have 700,000 companies in China, all operating. Everything's open sourced. All the programming is shared throughout the whole country. Okay, we operate schools right now. Most of us are Google schools, right? We have Google Drives. That would be like, if you want something out of my Google Drive, you just come take it.
Yep.
No big deal, because we're all operating from a unified perspective. I'm not saying we should go that far, but again, awareness of what it is we are faced. And we're not even talking yet about India, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. We're not talking about the European Union. We're not talking, you know what I mean?
Yep.
We're talking about one of the countries. We're not talking about the other 6.7 billion people.
Oh, I know. And India's got it on us, too.
Well, they're certainly starting. We need to be aware. So I think that's, in watching our staff go at this, you talk about some folks that are fighting their own discomfort.
Yeah.
But when we talk about for the good of the kids, then they're doing it. They're making themselves, showing tremendous courage. I think some of them have to give themselves a little bit more grace. We as a community, certainly we as administrators and leaders have to continue to give them grace and really support them at the same time, we give them a nudge, right? Because we can't wait.
Yep.
We have a tendency, especially Midwestern, right? Mm-hmm. We slow play. We kind of want to see how this goes. We avoid things that make us uncomfortable for as long as we possibly can, hoping they'll go away. You know, and it's going to require us to constantly evaluate everything. We need to reevaluate, how do we collaborate? How do we work together? Mm-hmm. Because we have to.
Yes.
It's essential.
Yep.
Right? It's going to kill us all if we can't operate together and work together, find commonality. But that doesn't mean that everything is status quo. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got some things we're looking at already. You know, I think we have to even look at our co-op. As powerful and as valuable as that thing is, we have to be able to reevaluate it.
Yep.
You know, what we set out 8 years ago, does it still work? Is it what we need to do? We're going to take a look at that. Yep. You know, and I think some folks will try to turn that into a negative. I think it's a huge positive. Mm-hmm. We have to look at this.
Yep.
Folks need to know that. So.
Well, I think in any line of work, business, whatever, you always have to be constantly reevaluating, and you know, because things could have worked 10 years ago, but you know, like you said, as fast as things are moving, 10 years ago is way in the past compared to what used to be. You know,
strategic plans used to go out 5 years, 10 years, literally. You're talking 30-day planning cycles right now.
Really?
Because we have to reevaluate nonstop. And on a school side, that has some potential to make some folks uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. We used to plan annually, right? If you didn't have something in place by August, you had to go. And then we'll take it up again in January and try to have it ready for next August. That's not okay anymore.
Yep.
If we see something that needs to change for October 1st, guess what we're going to do? On the 26th of September, we're going to change it.
Yep.
I think we just have to understand that. And our folks have been really good, even though they are uncomfortable at times. Mm-hmm. But some good opportunities. We had a 50th class reunion, did a nice tour for those folks the other day, and I think that they were intrigued by what's happening, and I think proud. I think several of them said pretty proud to be from this area. And so it's good stuff. Yeah. It's just a lot.
It's a lot going on. Well, speaking of things going on, homecoming's coming up next week, isn't it?
Yeah, always a good week. You know, the details, we have all the details out, I think, on our website and all that kind of stuff. We have our Powder Puff football. We have the Macho Man volleyball. We have the community pep rally on Thursday. But I think, you know, we've always gone at this to make it less about all of the gimmicks and games, but an opportunity, again, to be together, right? Teach kids how to socially interact.
Yep.
You know, we decorate the building. Our kids spend hours on the hallways. And you can look at that and say, well, is it a waste? No, they're collaborating.
Yep.
We let them learn to get into their little scraps and squabbles and arguments, and then we can coach them through it. And, you know, so all of those things have a process to them. But it's always a big week. It's an exhausting week. Mm-hmm. I just hope that kids remember what the intent of this is. You know, it's too easy to get rolled up into all of the shenanigans at night, the toilet papering and all that kind of stuff. And we have been fortunate. Our kids have been very respectful. I think they make a mistake, but they are rare now. And we try to work with them to establish some parameters, but I think at the same time, I hope everybody out there understands we don't control their nighttime activities.
Yep.
We will do everything we can, but we don't control them once they leave.
And kids will be kids.
They will be kids, and at the same time, they just need to be safe and I hope responsible and respectful. So we're looking forward to the week. It's always a fun one. We have the parade on Friday, and then the game, of course. We have volleyball at home on Thursday. I think cross country's running Thursday night, so they'll be back for the pep assembly. So it's a big week for us.
Yeah, that's great. And you got some budget issues, levy increases?
Well, just, we've projected that out in July and looking at that and just try to explain, again, a little bit more around that. Certainly I think every school district in the state is going to see a levy bump. The way that the revenue limit was allowed to go forward, the legislature opted to not offset that, even with a tremendous budget surplus. They opted to not offset that with an aid increase. So we're seeing levy spikes all over the place. Ours is compounded a little bit with the increase in referendum dollars. But, you know, we're doing everything we can to try to mitigate that and see what we can do here. But I do think it's important to remind everybody. I mean, it's easy to look at the costs, right? It comes in at a one-time property tax bill in December. Worst possible time you probably can get that bill, right? But I think everything we've talked about so far, we have to really weigh the long-term impacts of not educating. Or we have this movement, right, where we're seeing a move away from the public schools for whatever political purposes, and often they are political purposes, or they're superficial political. But I think, we can't afford two systems. We can't afford a private system to be funded by taxpayers, and we can't afford a public system to be funded. We can't fund them both. And we can't, certainly, everything we just talked about, we can't afford to just educate well the kids who can afford it.
Yeah.
So I think that's just something we have to remind everybody. If we're going to compete, if we're going to stave off this idea of becoming a third world country, as weird as that sounds, we have to educate to their maximum capacity.
Yep.
Goes back to the liftoffs concept. It's about reaching everyone's human capacity. No more minimal compliance.
Yep.
No more what's the minimum I can do to get an A. And it's not about what I as an educator can share with a kid. It's about how can I empower that kid to learn, because they're going to have to learn. So all those things kind of roll together. It becomes one of the times of the year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and with these kids too, it's like for these kids coming into this new world, they really have to have that. Like us, we could go into a job and work at it until we are, ready to retire, and that's all good. But a lot of times it's like they're going to have to bob and weave and have multiple skill sets in order to compete.
Had an opportunity to go home this week to Cornell and talk to their kids a little bit. It was a great way to use a vacation day, but it was in kind of shared with them some of that same thought process. Is I can remember, because it was our oldest daughter, their class, 2013. I remember telling them that they could expect 7 different careers, 7 relearns in their adult life, okay? Complete relearns. That's now over 20.
Wow.
So a kid who's going to graduate in 2030-ish, 20 to 27 career changes, not job changes, not doing the same thing for a new company. So the way I phrased it to them, I said, okay, so if technical college or college is the way you get trained and you have to change 20 times, can you afford 40 to 60 years in school not working? And their eyes kind of lit up, and I said, that's why this is about perpetual learning. Right. So, and even I think that the challenge is we have communities, we all have deep-seated beliefs, and again, pride in a lot of those things all are good, but this is a different time.
Yeah.
We really have to look at what's necessary, the pace we're moving at. We've seen massive change pieces before, but I don't think anything like this. I mean, look what the pandemic did to us, and that's pale compared to the changes that are coming literally in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's like I've watched just the AI in the music industry and in like the radio industry, and how just a year ago, the stuff it was doing compared to what it can do now, it's like if that's going on in the rest of the industry, it's insanely terrifying at the same time as awe-inspiring.
A term that folks, I think, need to become aware of is ASI, which is superintelligence, artificial superintelligence, which is knocking on the door. That's when an artificial intelligence scenario is much more capable than a human. We need to be ready for that, which means kids need different skill sets. Adults need different skill sets. And I think that's hopefully even with the Emerging Tech Lab, I think we're really trying to figure out how can we provide some adult opportunities, but it's not something that's just for the techie kids anymore.
Yeah.
We have to have every kid go through and have a high-tech skill set, even just to buy a car.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Or to buy a house, or to look at, and then hopefully understand the global dynamic. So what does that mean, and how does all this stuff work, and why is this job important now, but it may not be here in 3 years? What can, and is it scary? Do we have an awful lot of big things to talk about? We do.
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to employ folks? Where are they going to earn money to be able to sustain their lives? And all of that. And we can't do that if all we work on is political sound bites.
Yep.
And folks are getting rich by manipulating us one way or the other,
Yes,
trying to, right? We saw one of the companies in China, that's literally all they do is create online AI-based content. That's all they do.
Really? Wow.
And, so used correctly, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Used incorrectly, it's exceptionally dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's easy to manipulate people that way.
And we saw automated warehouses. 300 employees 2 years ago, down to 80.
Wow.
and productivity through the roof, accuracy through the roof, right? Comes with a different set of costs.
Yeah.
And we can be offended by that. We can be scared by that. We can wish that didn't happen, but guess what? It's here.
It's happening.
It's happening. So I think that's kind of how we're approaching and why the whole structural change concept. But liftoffs is something that folks need to be aware of. They really do. It's got some real power. It's got some tremendous research behind it. We're trying to make sure that it is available to everyone. We're not forcing it at anyone, but we're trying to, it's not a for-profit thing. It's literally sharing a ton of research, a ton of perspectives, a ton of experience to try to do better for kids.
Yeah, that's great. Well, is there anything else you want to cover before we let you go today?
I don't think so. I think it's just a great fall and a great opportunity, and we can either look at things as disastrous challenges or we can look at them as opportunities to continue to get better. That's what we're doing.
Well, like you said, when things make you nervous, that's when you know you're going to make progress, because if you push past those nerves, that's when you start seeing results.
It's also when we need leadership.
Exactly.
Can't manage in times like this. We have to lead.
Exactly.
So that's what it's going to take.
Well, Mike Beighley, thank you so much for being here today. We are going to jump right back into the music right after the short break.
102.3 WHTL.
It doesn't matter how a hybrid or variety performs across the country.